What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. This is HRox, and we're back with another Mortal Kombat video. So in today's video, I thought we could touch on Scorpion, well, MK1 Scorpion, and just kind of talk about how I think his role in Mortal Kombat 1, you know, I'm not, if you guys if you guys been a part of the channel for a while, you know I'm not the hugest fan of Kuai Liang being Scorpion. Obviously, I'm a big Hanzo Hasashi fan, and that's what drew me to the character was Hanzo's tragic backstory and everything that he went through throughout his life and throughout Mortal Kombat. So that's kind of what drew me to the character. And you know, Kuai Liang Scorpion it's never really fit right with me, but it's my own opinion personally. But so I kind of wanted to put it on my hat and just kind of think of it from the developer's point of view and why I think they made the decision to change Kuai Liang to Scorpion. And I kind of want to talk about what I would have done differently, if that makes sense, right? So there was two questions, right? The first question is why would they change Kuai Liang to Scorpion if they were going to just kill off Bi-Han anyways during the story of Chaos Reigns? So it's a little weird, right? In order to make Bi-Han Sub-Zero again, that means Kuai Liang would have to fill a different role. So with Kuai Liang needing to fill a different role and Bi-Han being Sub-Zero, I guess they kind of just came around the idea of Scorpion becoming the brother of Sub-Zero to kind of flip their whole relationship dynamic. But in order to do that, you would have to either make Hanzo a blood brother or an adopted brother. And I guess they eventually came across the route of just making Hanzo disappear from the role of Scorpion and just making Kuai Liang have fire powers instead of ice powers, and just making him be Scorpion, which, you know, it's a little odd because he comes from the family of cryomancers, you know what I mean? And I'm sorry if my voice is a little cracked because I'm still sick, but I want to start getting some more videos out there for you guys because I have been very inactive over the last couple weeks because of me getting over the flu. So that's kind of why I sound like this. But anyways, I think it was a little odd that Bi-Han became Sub-Zero considering the events of Chaos Reigns. They ended up killing off Bi-Han anyways for him to become Noob Saibot, and because they did this, now there's no Sub-Zero for the next game. I'm not really sure what route they're going to be taking this because with Kuai Liang being Scorpion now, so there's not a Sub-Zero there. There's not another Sub-Zero brother that can just take over the role of Bi-Han. And if you play throughout Chaos Reigns, and you've seen the intros, you know that Noob Saibot doesn't want to go back to being Bi-Han Sub-Zero. So that's kind of the route they take, unless they do something where Liu Kang somehow cures the chaos out of Bi-Han. But then again, if his sector's ending kind of took him out of the temple elements, so now that's probably not going to happen. But I don't know. We'll talk about what we could see in the future for Sub-Zero in the next game later on. I have two ideas I think could work, and I just want to get what you guys think about those specific ideas. But anyways, the second question was just changing Hanzo's backstory and making kind of writing Hanzo out of Scorpion and just, you know, making them brothers. Why this would be a good idea, and in terms of building a more dramatic story between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. I think that's kind of was the route that they took. I don't know, and I feel like the idea was to taking Hanzo out of the picture was a lot easier than taking Kuai Liang. When you already have brothers set up, you have everything set up, you just gotta change Kuai Liang to Scorpion. I think that's kind of the approach they were taking, which I'm still not sure how I feel about that, because if you think about a character Li Mei. Li Mei in this story was written to be a lot older than previous iterations of Li Mei. For instance, Deadly Alliance, she's a young woman. She was always described as a young woman throughout through Deadly Alliance, Deception, and even in the Mortal Kombat 11 timeline. She was always written as this young woman, where in the MK1 story, she's much older than her iterations of the Deception, Deadly Alliance, and Mortal Kombat X. So it's a little odd. They've played with those certain characters to fit certain narratives. Same thing with Takeda. Takeda was written to be a cousin, and it's the same age as Kenshi Takeda of Kenshi Takahashi, which I think is interesting. they've chosen to change this story a certain way, but they won't do it with other characters. I don't know. It's a weird little kind of like web of characters the way they made for this game, and I think each character, especially Takeda, I definitely want to make another Takeda video just talking about all that stuff. But anyways, that's not important for this one. So they're okay with changing certain characters as long as it fits what they're trying to tell to a certain degree. I don't know exactly how they were planning on talking about it, but anyways, moving on. So before we dive into this question, I just want to make it very clear, this video is not a negative video or to talk bad about NRS. This is more of just a constructive criticism video, and I hope they take it with a grain of salt if they do ever see this type of video. And just kind of like from an MK fan who's been around since like I'm 34 now, so I've been around for a while. I've played all the games, so this is just my own opinion on the whole subject. So that's just kind of like one of the ones to let you guys know before we get too deep in the video. But if you haven't already, leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Obviously, any kind of like interaction with the video honestly helps my video get out there just for more people to see and just kind of get other people's opinion on this whole subject. And I know there's probably some people are just tired of hearing about it, but at the end of the day, when you have a character like Scorpion or Sub-Zero that have been around for 30 years and then you suddenly change it, people are going to push back on it. And this is not really a video where I'm just trying to push back on it. I've accepted the fact that Kuai Liang is Scorpion, even though I'm not the biggest fan of it. Like, it's something that it is what it is. I'm just hoping that in the future that there is a role that Hanzo will play in the Shirai Ryu. That would be cool to see him go play like a role like Takeda Takahashi did for MKX. I hope that the plan is to do that eventually. Maybe in the next game we'll do a little time skip where the time will have passed where he's a young adult, like maybe in his 20s and stuff like that. That'd be cool. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to set the stage for what this video is going to be about. But anyways, let's dive into the first question. So the first question, the answer I came up with, the changing of Bi-Han to Sub-Zero. Now, before we get into that, don't be mistaken, I'm 100% on board with Bi-Han being Sub-Zero. Bi-Han's like one of I love Bi-Han more just because I grew up playing mythologies and stuff like that, and he had his own game and everything like that, so it was cool to play as him and, you know, just kind of understand his backstory. But there's a certain approach they took to Bi-Han in this game that I kind of didn't like, and I'm going to talk about that in a different video, just not this one. The main issue I have with what they did with Bi-Han in this game is they made him Sub-Zero, but they just killed him off in Chaos Reigns, right? It kind of felt rushed, especially when you realize that it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, because now that Kuai is Scorpion and Bi-Han is dead, there's no Sub-Zero for the next game. And where we are, this specific time, there's no Sub-Zero outside of, you know, this game. So like the next game, like it just leaves a question on who's going to become Sub-Zero in the next game, because the game without Sub-Zero just feels weird. So I think what's going to end up happening is okay, the second thing, I don't think it can happen, honestly, unless there's a time skip where now that Bi-Han is no longer Sub-Zero, you can change Hanzo into Sub-Zero. But right now as he stands, he's probably like 13, 14, 15 years old, like around that age bracket. I don't know if there's been an exact age for how old Hanzo is. I don't think they've talked about it. If they have, that I might have missed it, but I doubt that's gonna happen. I don't think there's gonna be I mean, there might be a time skip, but it might not be that. It might not be that much. If anything, it'll probably be like a year or something or two, and that still wouldn't be enough time for Hanzo to take over as Sub-Zero. So I'm kind of like throwing that whole idea out the window. Now, the only logical choice I think would be to bring in Frost. And although I love Frost, I'm not sure if I would love that particular resolution to the problem, because if going by just MK1, like a lot of personality traits these characters have in the previous timelines, they still kind of have in this timeline. It's just a little bit different. So with that being said, like Shang Tsung still became evil, Quan Chi still became evil, Shao Kahn still became evil and disregarded his loyalty to Outworld and to Sindel and all that stuff. So with that happening, it leads you to think that Frost would still end up becoming evil, and the power would just overtake her. And like it's happened throughout multiple timelines where Frost was and Deadly Alliance, the power was too much and overwhelmed her. And in Mortal Kombat 11, it's the same thing. She got too power hungry. So for her to become the new Cryomancer that's not Sub-Zero, it would just, I don't know if it would make a whole lot of sense unless somehow they pull a Ashura, or not Ashura, a Melina, Baraka, or a Reptile, and just make her completely good, which I feel like would kind of go against her character, because that's the whole point. Her being an evil cryomancer was like the opposite of Sub-Zero. So, you know, there's always been that. But anyways, that's why I don't think the whole Frost situation would kind of work. So I don't know, if they were just gonna end up killing off Bihan anyways, like, why make Kwai Liang into Scorpion? It just feels like, I feel like they could have left Hanzo and Kwai in their respective roles, and it wouldn't have been a big deal, and they could have just continued on with what they were doing. And like, I just think that's the route they should have took for this. You know what I mean? So, and I'll talk about why I think they still could have had the same kind of change in relationship with Scorpion as Hanzo versus Sub-Zero, and like the next question. Anyways, the second question, making Sub-Zero and Scorpion brothers. I'm gonna be honest, I never really understood why they made them brothers. Now, I understand that they wanted to do a whole flip on the relationship with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, but why not go with the Mortal Kombat Legacy approach with them being friends as kids?
You buy on?
No, you didn't. I heard you killing. Go home, Kai.
But I came to tell you.
You're distracting me.
Go home before I knock your head off.
You can't tell me to do.
What are you gonna do about it, midget?
Just go home, Kai.
Listen to your brother.
Fine, I won't tell you that.
And just expanding on that, because I don't know if you guys ever saw it. I mean, if you're a Mortal Kombat fan and you're like heavy into like the lore stuff, I'm sure you've seen the movie. The little web series they had, where they had Bihan and Hanzo as they were friends as kids and played together. Like when the other clans didn't see them, they could have took that approach and just made it bigger. You know what I mean? And just had them be best friends. And like, you know, like, I don't understand why the brother route was needed. You could have created an even more personal approach with the friendship thing, especially because like the whole relationship between brothers, and then finding out that he let his father die, which you don't really see their father in the game, so it kind of like, I feel like, doesn't have the impact that they think it did. And maybe it does with certain fans, but for me it just didn't have any impact because he never saw or had any attachment to Sub-Zero's father. So, you know, I think that going the best friend route would have been a better approach, because there's more of an in-depth feeling between the two characters, where they could have, and you've seen evidence of that in the past, where it could make a compelling story if done the right way. But anyways, if you did it this way, you could kind of keep the same Bihan and Hanzo history intact, while also having the same kind of impact as them being brothers. You know what I mean? Like, except this time you could have Kwai slide into the role of Sub-Zero when Bihan dies. You know what I mean? Immediately fill that role without there being any loopholes of Sub-Zero, of there not being a Sub-Zero for the next game, which wouldn't create any problems for any of the future games. Besides, they literally did this whole scene with Smoke and Scorpion in the freaking game, where
what happened? Where's Bihan?
He's betrayed us. We're all in imminent danger.
Letting father die. Forsaking Earthrealm. He's abandoned all reason.
I knew Bihan's frustrations ran deep, but I never thought they could inspire such madness. We can't let his corruption spread.
Whatever it takes, I am with you.
Thank you. We may not share blood, but we are brothers.
Do your oaths mean nothing? It's your duty to obey my will.
Not when it betrays Lin Kuei principles. We won't sacrifice them to serve your ambition.
Kuai Liang!
Stay back. This is my fight.
End this, brother. Embrace the future.
I want no part of it. You pervert all that it means to be Lin Kuei. You are my grandmaster no longer.
What are you doing? Once he's exposed, won't you be made Grandmaster?
You forget Cyrax and Sector. Their loyalty to Bihan is absolute. They'll sooner abet his corruption than follow me. We must chart a new course. One that both honors our father's legacy and serves our...
They're not real brothers, but they, you know, he's like, we're not, we may not be related by blood, but we are brothers. They could have had something similar like that and still kept that kind of brotherly relationship, even though they're best friends. Like, that approach could have worked and just used for what you call it, for Bihan and Hanzo, where I feel like Smoke, I mean, his role wasn't in roles. I feel like Smoke's role in the story is never really a huge one, so you could have just used that for Bihan and Scorpion, which would have been a cool little change to their relationships of them being enemies to being best friends. Would have been, honestly, in my opinion, I think would have been way better. But you know, that's just me. But moving on, Kuai just doesn't feel like Scorpion. You know what I mean? He feels like Sub-Zero wearing Scorpion's costume, and I'm going to explain why I think that. But to really understand that, I'm gonna give you just a quick, you know, kind of like recap of the history of Scorpion. Scorpion's tragic backstory is like kind of what made him as a character. You know what I mean? Like, with a Scorpion without his backstory, it feels soulless. You know what I mean? Scorpion's awesome background of him trying to get revenge for his family and clan was just such a cool concept, and was one of the best, if not the best, backstories for a character in Mortal Kombat. You understood his motives, what drove him. You knew whatever he did it for a reason. There was a goal he had, and like, you knew the backstory and what led him to that goal. Like, he was murdered and resurrected by his murderer, Quan Chi, who then misdirected Scorpion's vengeance to fulfill his own needs. And then when Scorpion found out, he was able to just drop everything he was doing and just focus on trying to hunt down Quan Chi. You know what I mean? Like, he hunted Quan Chi through the realms, like through Nether realm, through Outworld, through Earth realm. Like, it was literally across the realms. He hunted Quan Chi around. Like, you've seen it in Deadly Alliance, you've seen it in Deception. Like, there are some multiple instances of Scorpions chasing Quan Chi. And even when he finally succeeded in killing Quan Chi, it didn't give him the peace and clarity he craved. Only by creating the new Shirai Ryu did he start feeling at peace. That is Scorpion. His journey as an avenger, a vengeful spirit, becoming Hanzo Hasashi at the end of MK11 was just such a satisfying story to see throughout Mortal Kombat. If you followed from like the first game all the way up to Mortal Kombat 11, why Scorpion just doesn't feel. It feels weird. It feels odd. Like, he has a similar maturity and similar kind of personality to MK11 Hanzo, but the character just feels wrong, if that makes sense. And this is more of like for people who are hardcore Hanzo fans than anything in particularly to do with the actual character Scorpion, because still Scorpion fights similar enough, I guess, but like, it just feels wrong. I think one of the most maddening things that me in particular don't understand is, why does Kuai Liang, why does Kuai Liang have fire powers? He descends from cryomancers. And they never answered this. The only reason Hanzo had fire abilities was because he was a Hellspawn. He had nether fire. Like, Kuai Liang's family comes from the cryomancers. It doesn't make sense for him to be able to use fire. And they never really clarified why he's able to use fire in this timeline. And I think it's just one of those things where they just gave it to him because he had to be Scorpion. He had to act like and fight like Scorpion. So they gave him fire abilities, but he's a human. I don't know. It's excuse me. It's odd. I never really understood it. Like, you know what I mean? It just feels wrong that everything, and also, like, this is another thing too. Like, it kind of just feels wrong that everything that Hanzo wanted and fought for, Kuai Liang seems to get. I mean, just look at season 1 Invasions. Like, Hanzo was just pissed off that, you know, Kuai Liang was marrying Harumi and all that stuff, and the Shiryu was back, and everything he pretty much wanted was gone. Like, essentially he got everything Hanzo wanted, like his wife, his clan, and he even got the protection of Earthrealm's protector. Like if only, it just leads me to think like what could have happened if he only had listened to Raiden back in MK9. And I don't know, like to me, I don't know, without tragedy I feel like Scorpion is such a weird, it's weird because it doesn't feel like Scorpion with him just having all the peace, and like nothing's really bad has happened to Kwai outside of his brother dying, but at the same time he doesn't have that impact because he hates his brother now after he found out that he let his father die. It doesn't have the same kind of like impact of like brotherly love that he had, because like I feel like in the old iterations of Kwai Liang and Bihan, Kwai always loved his brother, and like he always had an attachment to Bihan because Bihan was his only family in the world throughout any point of the old Mortal Kombat history, and Bihan never betrayed Kwai Liang. He never betrayed him throughout any of the timelines when he was Bihan. And like obviously when he was Noob Saibot, he was corrupted. His spirit, his essence was completely corrupted, so it wasn't Bihan. So this is like the first time that I feel like Bihan has actually betrayed Kwai Liang, and that's kind of like why I feel like there's like it's a difference in the relationship between Bihan and Kwai Liang than it's been in previous timelines. But anyways, there's, like I was telling you guys earlier in the video, there's an article where Dominic talks about the idea behind the change with an interview with IGN. Okay, so here's the article where like Dom was kind of talking about like what was behind the changes of MK1 Scorpion. So it's funny, I don't know why I've never really seen this article. I thought I would have seen this by now. But anyways, Mortal Kombat 1 story director explains why Kwai Liang is Scorpion. So ever since it was first revealed, the biggest mystery surrounding Mortal Kombat 1 and identity of Scorpion, obviously this is an older article, like, so it's gonna be talking, this is like more probably in the beginning days of MK1. So this combined with the fact that okay, so hold on, let me go back a little bit. The reveal trailer for sorry, excuse me. Ever since it was first revealed, one of the biggest mysteries around Mortal Kombat 1 is the identity of Scorpion. The reveal trailer for the game quickly establishes that they were going to be different this time around, with Sub-Zero and Scorpion being brothers rather than rivals. But things got even more complicated when it was revealed that Bihan was going to be Sub-Zero in this timeline. So this combined with the fact that Sub-Zero and Scorpion are brothers this time around caused fans to theorize that Scorpion was actually Kwai Liang in this timeline and not Hanzo Hasashi, like he had been in every other Mortal Kombat game. This starts off as a fan theory, but was seemingly confirmed by Mortal Kombat 1 story director Dominic, I don't know how to say it, is that Ciancolo? Something like that, during an interview with IGN at the Summer Game Fest. After being cagey on the subject for a long time, it seems that NetherRealm has stopped trying to hide Scorpion's identity in Mortal Kombat 1, which was recently asked about the change during a Gamescom interview with IGN. During the interview, IGN asked Dom why such a big change was made to both Sub-Zero and with both Scorpion and Kwai Liang. During that, noting that it was one of the most talked about elements of Mortal Kombat 1's story. So in response, Dom said it was about refreshing the relationship between Scorpion and Sub-Zero from something that everybody knew about to something new and full of drama. Something that couldn't be done if the same rivalry between Bihan and Hanzo Hasashi that it was in the original Mortal Kombat, which doesn't make sense because they still end up with the same rivalry. Like they still end up being rivals, but it's just, I guess it's a little bit different. But anyways, Dom said one is we were looking at, okay, how do we refresh this relationship that everybody knows, and how do we amp up the drama between the two characters? And so the notion of Scorpion and Sub-Zero being brothers, which I think go way back in the day, that was somebody who wrote this article, noting on something way back in the day, but was somebody, even co-creator John Tobias. It was his idea early on. It was a way of sort of wrapping up the tension and the decision of, do we continue with Hanzo and make it a blood brother or an adopted brother, or even though a blood brother is Kwai Liang, which I think could have been cool because I feel like, you know, it would have been cool if they would have just made him an adopted brother, because I don't think you can erase Bihan from Mortal Kombat because he's the original Sub-Zero. And though, like, he doesn't make a big impact with him as being Sub-Zero, he makes more of an impact as Noob Saibot, I feel like, because Sub-Zero, every time he's Sub-Zero, he has not been Sub-Zero very long. He ends up dying. Mortal Kombat 1, the original Mortal Kombat 1, and then Mortal Kombat 9, he dies pretty early on. So I don't know, bro. You could have just made him automatically Noob Saibot and had him die as younger. I don't know. There's ways you could have gone about it. I don't think him Kuai Liang being Scorpion, I don't know if that's the way to go, because it kind of like I don't like the idea of Kuai Liang being Scorpion and then Scorpion being part of the Lin Kuei, because, you know, his character, his whole being was essentially different from the Lin Kuei. But anyways, Dom also noted that Mortal Kombat 1 should be viewed as a jumping point for a new universe, and that characters are only just starting with their arcs and stories in this game, which not only suggests more from this new timeline is coming in the future, but also that we could eventually see his characters more closely resemble how they've been in other timelines. Now, if that's the point of how they're going to be similar to how they used to be in other timelines, what was the point of the changes? Is my question. Like, the whole point of recreating these characters were supposed to be different, but if they're going to end up being like their counterparts, then what was the point of changing certain character stories? I don't know how they're going to go about doing that. Personally, I would have rather them go the best friend route or even the brother route. I think that could have been a better way of going about changing Scorpion's like whole thing, while also like protecting you know, their own investment with their character with Sub-Zero, and not there being a hole where it's now Sub-Zero. We're not sure who's going to be in the next game, what's going to happen if Bihan is going to come back from being Noob, which he seems like he doesn't want to go back to being Sub-Zero. It seems like he wants to stay Noob Saibot. So if that is the case, then like, what are they going to do with that? Like, who's going to fill the role of Sub-Zero? Is it going to be Frost? Is it going to be Hanzo? There's a lot of questions, just kind of like around what they've done with Chaos Reigns and the Mortal Kombat 1 story. I kind of would have liked the approach they took with Smoke and just had that be Hanzo's role in this story. Now, I think that probably would have been a better route, especially because like I feel like, unless I'm misremembering, I don't feel like Smoke had a huge like impact in the story. I mean, I feel like he was there as like an emotional support for Kuai Liang, especially after Bihan betrayed him. I feel like that's kind of like what was Smoke's role in the story. It's been a while since I played the stories. I might go back and just replay it just to make sure that that's kind of like, you know, what his role really was, because he had like no role in Chaos Reigns. So yeah, but anyways, like I said, if it was up to me, I would rather him be adopted brother, or like I'm more inclined to go with being the best friend of Bihan than anything. Like they're that way there's no like holes in the story of what happens if Bihan is dead. And like this, it could have been cool to see them more of a best friend route, because like what if Bihan is killed and then Hanzo would seek vengeance for Bihan dying. That could have been like a catalyst to Hanzo becoming Scorpion. It just sucks that Hanzo was written out of Mortal Kombat 1 to be relegated to a side character role. But maybe in the next game we'll get to see him as some sort of role, like he maybe have some kind of role similar to like Takeda in the Shiryu. Maybe like him, you'll see him becoming a full-on Shiryu member in the next story. But anyways, it's been kind of like, you know, I can't help but think like how cool of a story would have been of Hanzo getting revenge for Bihan dying. Like that would have been so cool to see, because it would have been such a big flip on the way Hanzo felt towards Bihan. And you could have had Bihan stay as like a Lin Kuei member and just had him be killed by Hanzo, no, you could still keep the same story with him betraying the Lin Kuei, and just have it so that Hanzo is trying to save Bihan from his own desires. Kind of like similar to like if you've seen Naruto and Sasuke, where Naruto's like trying to help Sasuke get back on the right path. You can have like a similar story to that, where Hanzo is trying to save Bihan from his own greed and power, and then when he dies, he kind of just like gets back into that role of being Hanzo Hasashi, like, and being I'm not Hanzo, but like Scorpion, where he's seeking revenge for his best friend's killer. Like, there's such a cool story that could have been told there, but I just felt like with them erasing Hanzo from this story, it just kind of like negates his relationship with Bi-Han altogether, which I think is a disservice to like Mortal Kombat in itself, because of Bi-Han and Hanzo's relationship is such a huge part of Mortal Kombat. The two clans have such a history throughout Mortal Kombat. It feels bad, bro. It feels bad as a Hanzo fan. But anyways, it's been over a year now. What do you guys think about this whole situation with Hanzo not being Scorpion? Have you guys as Hanzo fans accepted the fact that Hanzo isn't Scorpion right now, and that Kuai Liang it is? Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section below. I personally still haven't gotten over it. I don't think I'll ever get over it. I'm such a huge Hanzo fan, and I think it was such a disservice to just take him out of the story completely. But at the end of the day, like, we're gonna see where the story goes and what they do with Hanzo, because Hanzo, at least he's in Mortal Kombat 1, and like maybe we could see maybe like a few years jump where he's in his 20s, and you see him and you just see like what he evolves into and like what kind of story he'll tell. Him not having Harumi or Satoshi in his background of story, it should be interesting to see in the next game how they approach it. I'm hoping for a much better story for Hanzo going forward, if that's gonna be the case. We'll see where it goes, but in my opinion, I'm still not over it. But at the end of the day, I wanted to see where the story goes from here for Hanzo. Hopefully they can do something about this timeline crap and make it so the timeline, because like personally I think the timeline stuff does a really bad, gives the Mortal Kombat 1 story a really bad look, because the timeline stuff is boring as hell and it's been reused over and over again. I want them to just focus on the realms again and focus on, because there's so many realms you can focus on to create stories. I don't understand why they use a timeline like Earth's Realm and Outworld, the only realms in Mortal Kombat. But that's my 2 cents on the idea. I just wanted to give you guys a video on something I thought about for a while and just get you guys just thoughts and opinions and like what you think. I just want to give you guys a video on what I think was the reason why Hanzo was changed from being Scorpion to being basically relegated to a side character, and why Kuai Liang and Bi-Han was changed for their roles in the game, and why I think that this creates a problem for the next game, because now there's no Sub-Zero and Bi-Han doesn't want to go back to being Sub-Zero. He wants to stay Noob Saibot. But anyways, let me guys know what you guys thought in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah.